Peekaboo. Okay, so going on to the next question. This is like the harder questions. Okay, it's involving negative signs. Okay, so it's involving negative signs, and you're going to solve your linear equations that's involving negative numbers. So in this situation, you've got negative x. Okay, negative x plus 3 is equal to 5. Okay, so negative x plus 3 equals to 5. How are we going to do that? So what I would suggest to do is make your negative x a positive. Okay, there are other ways to do that, and I'll show you that in the other videos. But right now, I'm going to show you this at a basic level. So make that negative x positive. So how are you going to bring it from left-hand side, LHS, to your right-hand side? Okay, you got to do the opposite. Remember, when you move things from left to right or right to left, you got to do the opposite. So how do I bring the negative x to this side? I'm going to add x. Likewise, you're also going to add x. So these cancel out. Now you're left with plus 3. You don't actually need to write plus 3, okay? You can just write the number 3, because we already know that the plus 3 is a positive 3. That's equal to 5 plus x. Now, a lot of people write 5 plus x as 5x. Now, you can't write it like that, because what's actually in between the 5 and the x? They're times. Can you add these two terms together? Yes or no? And I'm hoping you guys said no, okay? The reason why you can't add them is because they are not like terms. You can only add like terms. That's going over the previous topics, okay? So these two are not like terms. If it said 5x plus x, yes, you can add them. But in this situation, it doesn't actually say that. So it actually says 5 plus x, okay? So you can only add it, so if they're like terms. So going back, what's annoying the x, okay? So what is actually annoying the x? It's actually the 5, the plus 5. How do you get rid of the plus? How do you get rid of the plus 5? Okay, there's the students walking by, so I'm just waving to them. So how do you get rid of that plus 5? You got to do the opposite. You go to minus 5, and then you minus 5 on this side. Cool. So what's plus 5 minus 5? I cancel that, becomes 0. Now you're left with x is equal to 3 take away 5. So how do you write that down? 3 take away 5 is equal to x. What's 3 take away 5? It's dealing with your negative numbers. It can be quite frustrating. I'm going to put up a video regarding negative numbers and how you can determine the answer when you're subtracting negative numbers. But so far, 3 take away 5 is equal to minus 2. So now minus 2 is equal to x. When you get to a higher year level, so you want to write it like this. X is equal to negative 2. Always write your answer in this way. Okay, so x is equal to negative 2. This is also correct, but this is like when you go to an English class and you're writing an essay, okay? You want to start your sentences off with capital letters. Likewise, this is like the case. It's just a rule, okay? A rule of thumb, okay? So that's how you want to write it. Next question is g plus 3 equals 6, okay? G plus 3 equals 6. What's annoying the g? So not all the time you're going to have an x, a y, a z, or whatever. You can have random unknowns. So here you've got g plus 3 equals 6. How do you get rid of the thing that's annoying the unknown? Because at the end of the day, you want to have g equals something. So g plus 3 equals 6. How do you get rid of the plus 3? You do the opposite, minus 3. Then you have to do it on this side as well. Cool. Plus 3, minus 3. Essentially, they cancel out. Now you're left with g is equal to 6, take away 3. G is equal to 3. And that's actually a positive 3. We don't write it like that. G is equal to 3. Cool. So, that's the bell. Okay? How do we solve for this? Okay? We need to get rid of the negative 3. How do we get rid of the negative 3? What is the negative 3 doing to the x? Negative 3 is actually multiplying with the x. How do we get rid of it? You've got to do the opposite. You've got to divide this side by negative 3, and what people forget the most is they just simply divide it by 3. That's not actually the case. You have to divide it by what it is. There's a negative sign attached to it. So you've got to divide it by negative 3. So then also, whatever you do on the left-hand side, you've got to do on the right-hand side. Divide this side by negative 3. Negative 3 divided by negative 3, these cancel out. It's actually a 1, okay, technically, okay? Then you're left with x is equal to 21 divided by negative 3. Now, because you're dividing a positive and a negative number, okay, your result is going to be negative, and this is dealing with negative numbers again. So a lot of people struggle with the topic of negatives, okay, and positives, and what you do when you add them, subtract, and multiply and divide them. Okay, that will be in another video. But so far, it's assumed that you already know this concept. So 21 divided by negative 3, x is equal to, so what's 21 divided by 3? 7. What's 21 divided by negative 3? It's going to be negative 7. So that's your answer for that question. Negative 2x over 5 is equal to 20. So it's going on through difficult questions that involve fractions. Okay? What do you need to get rid of? What's the two things that are annoying the unknown? The unknown is the x. What are the two things that are frustrating it? Okay? It's actually the negative 2 and the 5. Okay? So we need to bring it to the other side. We need to bring it to the other side. How do we bring it to the other side? We have to do the opposite. So we're going to get rid of 5 first, and then we're going to get rid of the next thing that's closest to the x. How do we get rid of the 5? We're going to do the opposite. So what's the opposite of divide by 5? It's going to be multiply by 5. So we're going to get rid of it by multiplying it 5 on this side. Whatever you do to the left-hand side, you must do to the right-hand side. These cancel out. They become a 1. Now you're left with negative 2x is over 1 is equal to 100. Now, a lot of people get confused because they're like, oh, wait a second, there's actually 1. There's technically a 1 there, right? But you don't write that when you get to year 8, year 9, year 10 level, and 12. Okay? Any whole number or term is always over 1 in this situation. So negative 2x equals to 100. How do you get rid of the negative 2? What's the negative 2 doing to the x? Yes, it's actually multiplying. So it's going to be negative 2 times x is equal to 100. How do you get rid of it? You do the opposite. What's the opposite of times? It's going to divide. Have I done something wrong there? Yeah, I have. I didn't put the negative sign. So you always have to divide. In order to get rid of something, you've got to, in this situation, divide it by the exact same. So it's negative 2 divided by negative 2. Whatever you do to the left-hand side, you do to the right-hand side. So negative 2 here. Now, these two cancel out. What are you left with? X is equal to 100 over negative 2. What's 100 divided by 2? Okay, work that out first. 100 divided by 2 is going to be x is equal to 50. But you need to make sure, this is where 95% of people go wrong here, is because they forget there's an actual negative sign. What's a positive divided by negative? It's negative. So the answer is going to be x is equal to negative 50. All right, so I'm just going to bring that camera right there. So this is the last two questions. This is where it can get really tricky. What do you got to get rid of? You need to make x by itself, okay? Solve for x. Okay, so in this situation, what's annoying the x? This guy over here, and this other person over here. The negative 6 and the plus 3. You want to get rid of the tail first. So in this situation, you got rid of the 5 first, and then afterwards you got rid of the negative 2. So always get rid of the ones that are distant. Okay, so first you need to bring this over here. What's the opposite of plus 3? It's going to be minus 3. And then whatever you do to the left-hand side, you do to the right-hand side. So you got here plus 3. So these two cancel out. Okay, now you're left with negative 6x is equal to 12. Okay, if you've done that and this question is worth 2 marks, you've already got 1 mark so far. The next stage is actually to still solve for x. Okay, what's the negative 6 doing to the x? Yes, it's actually multiplying. So now you're left with negative 6 times x is equal to 12. How do you get rid of it? You got to do the opposite. So what's the opposite of negative 6 times? It's going to be divide. So divide this side by negative 6, divide this side by negative 6. Okay, then you're going to cancel these out. And you're left with x is equal to, what's 12 divided by 6? Yeah, 12 divided by 6 is 2. But you got to remember there's a negative sign. So it's going to be negative 2. All right. Last question, okay, is this. So while I do these questions, what I want you to do before me attempting them is actually, when you get used to them, I want you guys to actually practice them and then press play and then check if you've actually done it right. So you want to press pause, practice this question, then press play, and then have a go. I should have said that earlier, but yeah, I'm just getting used to making these videos. So just letting you know, that's what you do, okay? Just when you get used to it, press pause, you have a go, and then afterwards, have a look at the way it's done. Again, guys, there's multiple ways to answer these questions, okay? There's no wrong or right way. You want to use the most efficient way, okay? So here, you're going to get rid of the 6. Okay, you got negative 5x plus 3 over 6. A lot of people get confused. They're like, oh my God, why don't I get rid of that plus 3 first? Why don't I get rid of this negative 5? Always get rid of the one that's furthest away. So you want to bring that out, and I'll explain more in detail in another video what the reason why you get certain things out first on the other side. So we're going to get rid of this 6. What is it doing at the bottom? Okay, think about the operation. You got to do the opposite, okay? So times 6, okay? And then you got rid of it, you times 6 on this side. Okay, let's cancel 1. Now you're left with negative 5x plus 3 is equal to 48. Right, now it's going back to this question. This is not so much different to this one, okay? How do I get rid of the plus 3? Okay, I do the opposite. What's the opposite of plus 3? It's going to be minus 3. And then you also do it on this side. Now, the next step is we can cancel this. You're left with negative 5x is equal to 48. Cool. So after doing that, you're still not left with what x is. Okay? You need to get rid of it. Okay? So I can notice that I've done a mistake here. Okay? 48 take away 3 is equal to 45. Okay? And that's why I always write this statement here. If you're so good at this, okay, you can just do it in your head. But if you're still struggling with this concept, write it out. Okay? So now you're left with negative 5x so equals to 45. What's negative 5 doing to the x? It's timesing it. How do you get rid of the negative 5? You do the opposite. And that's going to be divide. Divided by exactly negative 5. 95% of people just write 5, but you have to divide it by negative 5. Divide this side by negative 5. Now you're left with this. And now what's 45 divided by 5? 9. But there's a negative sign there, so it's going to be negative 9. So your answer is x is equal to negative 9. Cool. So hopefully, guys, that's kind of helped you with solving, okay? That's just gone from the most basic questions, okay? Like 4 plus x equals to 25. And then you need to solve the rest, okay? So I've gone from easiest to hardest. If you're still struggling, let me know and I can put up more questions, okay? If you have any questions on the exercise book, you should just let me know, yeah, guys? Just post that up in the comments. But yeah, hope you guys have a good one. Take care.